Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are diving back into The Muppet Show with 3 more Season 4 episodes from 1980, featuring guests Jonathan Winters, Alan Arkin, and Doug Henning.
It's just the two of us. Do you feel lonely this week?
I mean, we also took a week off, which also felt weird. So we had a guest last time. We took a week off. I don't even know who I am anymore, Sam.
We're all thrown off.
But on top of those Muppet Show episodes, we also watched a couple of clips from this time period, including a clip of Kermit and Piggy appearing at the Academy Awards, and Jim Henson appearing on the Today Show to talk about the Muppet Pipes. This week, Sam, I think the podcast was actually started to sink in, and the fact that we have seen everything there is to see of the Muppets' first 25 years, anything before 1980, we have seen, just sort of weirdly hit me this week for some reason.
In a bad way or a good way?
I think a good way. Sort of my completionist brain was just thinking about that timeline of just realizing that oh yeah, there's nothing before 1980 that we haven't seen that's available to see.
Yeah, but doesn't it bother you that there's stuff locked away in the Pally Center that we could see, that we can't see?
Yes.
That bothers me.
So there's a few things there, because I actually looked this up because I was thinking about a trip to New York, and thinking about okay, if I was going to go there and I only had time to watch 1 or 2 things, what would I choose to watch? And looking through the list of things they have, there's only a few things that they have that I desperately want to see.
Okay.
And I think the number one for me would be the original pilot for The Muppet Show, the one with the extended theme song and everything. And I think that's the number one thing that is not available anywhere else that I would want to go there and see. Other things are I think they have the weird Sesame Street in Prison documentary that you can watch there, and a few other things. But that is the biggest sort of achievable white whale, whereas a lot of the other things we haven't been able to watch, just nobody has.
They're in a vault somewhere.
Yeah, or there's one photo of them because they weren't recorded or whatever.
Right.
I was thinking about that this week with the Julia Child performance that we've only heard about and read about, that apparently Cookie Monster and Julia Child performed together in 1974. And
you've been hunting that one down, kind of, haven't you?
I mean, I was
more than anyone else in the whole world, probably.
It's me and Muppet Wiki just trying to find that thing. And it doesn't, there's not even photographic evidence that it happened. Literally all we have to go off of is pretty much Frank's interview on that weird Canadian show where he's talking about brushing his hair down because he's got cookie crumbs in it.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing we have to go on, really.
Hell, he might not even be right. That might not even have ever happened.
Yeah, he could have maybe this is all just a fever dream that Frank Oz had.
Yeah.
He fell asleep watching Julia Child one night and was oh yeah, I've worked with her.
And eating cookies. And he got really confused.
But it's also, before we get to talking about what we're going to talk about this week, Sam, it's time for a little quick holy moly update.
Oh, God, I watched an episode last week.
Yeah?
I don't know if I'm up to date or not. It was the one with the bear hole. Is that the
there's
newest
one more since then.
Okay.
But you did watch the most frustrating one so far. They spend a good 5 minutes teasing the appearance of a bear on this show where we've been promised Muppets.
Yeah, which is apparently a running joke on Holy Moly, is that, who's not Rob Corddry, but
Rob Riggle.
Rob Riggle wants a bear to be on the show very badly, and has for years.
Which is fine. I'm fine with the running joke of it, but when you have a bear at your disposal that you've already interacted with at least once in this season, why is that not Fozzie behind this wall?
And it was the distractor hole where you're trying to putt while something is distracting you. Fozzie telling you jokes would be way more distracting than that dumb bear costume. That's just they were pretending it was a real bear, and they were oh no, a bear's gonna get you. It's just a guy in a bear costume.
Yeah,
What?
he was also flossing, so clearly not a real
He
bear.
was also flossing as well.
But yeah,
There's two.
I could not believe. Like, I kind of expected it to
Yeah,
not be Fozzie, just because
too.
clearly, like, they filmed all of the stuff with the contestants separate from the idea of the Muppets being
Yeah.
involved, because there's
So
been no
sad.
overlap.
No.
But in that moment, I was like, are they gonna actually? Is this gonna be Fozzie? Like, you're talking about a bear quite a bit,
Yeah.
and then no, it was just a man in a suit flossing.
Yeah. Read the room, folks. You know what we want.
Yeah, as I tweeted out from the commitment account this past week, it seems like there is a pre-negotiated contract deal where now in every single episode, the Muppets appear at the 18th minute of the episode,
Oh.
and they
okay.
have like a minute-long segment before commercial, and then later on in the episode, they have another minute-long segment, and that's been it for the past like 3 or 4 weeks. It's the exact same formula every single time, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Holy Moly is quite giving the Muppet fans what they were hoping for from this series.
I just can't think of what could have been stopping them from just really like jamming them in there. And it must have been like you're only allowed to use them this amount of time. We're Disney and we're being very protective of the Muppets or something like that. Like no ad-libbed Muppeting or anything like that.
To me, it just feels like a scheduling thing where they were probably like, okay, we have 2 days, you have 3 puppeteers, and we need to record everything on this one background set with a green screen or something. Go.
Yeah.
And so they filmed as much as they could, and they're splicing it into like minute-long chunks to spread it out throughout a whole season.
Yeah.
I still have faith that we will have a finale that involves more Muppets. If I remember correctly, in the commercial originally, they show Kermit on set
In
with
the
the
booth.
commentators. Yes.
Yeah, for sure they do. Do you think this is the most disappointing Muppet project that there's ever been?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think there have been worse. And I think this is also one of those situations where it's like, maybe we just had our expectations too high.
I suppose.
Partially because
Those trailers were very Muppet filled, though.
Yes, but I've also never watched a previous season of Holy Moly. And maybe this is how their arcs normally go. Like, maybe if they
Yeah.
have a storyline throughout a whole season, they normally only pepper them in for like 2 minutes an episode.
That's true.
So maybe this fits perfectly in with the Holy Moly formula, and they were like, hey, Muppets, come be a part of our little segments we do. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And so maybe if we'd watched Holy Moly more, we would have like known what to expect. But I think
I suppose.
when you tell me I'm going to get Muppets on this mini golf show, I did expect a little bit more Muppets. Well, why don't we go ahead and travel on back to 1980, Sam, and you
I'd love to.
tell us what we watched this week.
On March 13th, 1980, in jolly old New York City, comedian, actor, and voice of Papa Smurf, Jonathan Winters, is the Muppet Show's welcome guest. Its unwelcome guest? A sinister old woman creeping around backstage, casting evil curses on the cast and crew. Throughout the show, things go wrong in ways that are, to be fair, pretty typical of the Muppet Show on any uncursed day, but are indeed the results of black magic. These misfortunes include escaped wild animals, all of Jonathan Winters' props being lost, Beaker being maimed, which especially didn't need cursing to happen. That happens all the time anyway. And most dramatically, an asteroid crashing into the backstage, landing directly on Kermit's hand, and then splitting open to reveal a couple of aliens. Okay. Eventually, it is revealed that the old lady was hired by Statler and Waldorf to ruin the show, and its effects wear off as soon as the half hour for which she was paid elapses. Highlights include, well, not to reveal my rating too much, but this wasn't a very good episode. I think the most frustrating part to me is that it was a great concept for an episode, and I think Jonathan Winters is very funny with the Muppets, so it kind of just feels like a big waste more than anything. My favorite parts both took place in Jonathan's dressing room when he's visited first by a shark and then by the aliens. And he's just like very understated about the whole situation in a way that a lot of the guests are just like, wow, a Muppet. And he's just kind of like, yes, hello, a shark. How are you doing? And I thought that tickled me. Jonathan Winters was a comedian and actor who was just sort of omnipresent from the 60s to the 80s in stuff like The Twilight Zone, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, Hollywood Squares, Mork and Mindy, and, as I mentioned, the voice of Papa Smurf, a role that he played up through the 2 live-action movies. That his last role was Smurfs 2. And then
Wow.
he kicked the bucket. Yeah, he was really old.
I like this, like, not that, I was gonna say I like their last roles. I don't like that they were their last roles, but thinking about people like Jonathan Winters and Orson Welles, of like Orson Welles'
Yeah.
last role was in the Transformers movie.
Unicron,
Yeah.
the evilest transformer of them all.
Yeah, and like thinking about just Jonathan Winters being in Smurfs 2, and like Sean Connery's not dead yet, right? No,
I think he is.
he did die. Okay, yes. And yeah, Sean Connery's last role, I believe, was in this weird Scottish cartoon that he like paid to get funded. That like looks like it was animated in like 1994.
Yeah, it looks like Food Fight. That movie, Food Fight.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like these like gentlemen of the stage kind
Yeah.
of guys, like what their last roles end up being.
Well, he was retired too, and it says on Wikipedia that they like coaxed him out of retirement to be in the Smurfs. And it's just like, I'm sure he was like, oh, because the old Smurfs cartoon is kind of classy. It's like an elevated cartoon to a certain degree. It's like based on like a French comic strip, and just has a certain like, you know, pleasantness to it. But I'm sure, I've never seen the new movies, but I'm sure Papa Smurf is like, oh, I smurfed my pants. You know? It's like, I'm sure he was expecting one thing, and then I was like talking about like, what's a cell phone as a Smurf or whatever.
Yeah. Oh God, you're probably right. I also have not seen those movies, but I have to assume you're not far off with the Smurf your pants line.
A Smurf, absolutely a Smurf falls in the toilet in one of those movies. I'm sure it must happen. But I will always remember him best, Jonathan Winters, that is, as a guest star in the new Scooby-Doo movies, in which he plays himself as an old lady. And that was an episode that just came on Cartoon Network all the time. And it was very funny. And he was very funny. In between this episode and the next one, we watched a segment from the 1980 Academy Awards, in which host Johnny Carson brings on Miss Piggy to introduce the Rainbow Connection, which was nominated for Best Original Song that year. Piggy is, of course, crushed that she wasn't nominated for Best Actress, but she's very brave and introduces the song anyway. And then Kermit comes on and strums his little banjo and lip syncs to the track from the movie.
What did you think of this one, Sam?
I always love Miss Piggy when she shows up on an award show. She's the Muppet who's so easy, like she most easily like seems like a real person, and I feel like everybody who interacts with her is like just automatically gets who she is, and it's like her and Johnny Carson have known each other forever.
They have. I mean,
Yeah, and
like,
they have.
her first appearance before she was even called Miss Piggy was on his show back in like 1970, whatever.
He gave her big break.
Yeah, so they've been friends for 5-6 years at this point.
Yeah. And I liked how she's kind of like started off like being tough, and then by the end she's like crying. Kind of a different side to her, where it's like, you have at last admitted defeat, Miss Piggy. You were not nominated.
Well, this was the year of the Campo organization, which was the committee to award Miss Piggy the Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
Where the so this was two Cincinnati marketing executives who had put out this grassroots campaign to get people to write to a P.O. box. There was a quote where they urged fans to write to the P.O. box, and it said, "First it was Mae West, then it was Marilyn Monroe. Never before had actresses captivated the nation's attention with as much charm, dignity, and suaveness as did these two radiating individuals. Now, in 1979, a new motion picture starlet is born, whose great talent and qualifications are unique in the movie field, and who rightfully deserves an Oscar in her bedroom in 1980. Miss Piggy is a legend in her own time, and definitely in her own mind."
They weren't wrong.
No.
You know?
But unfortunately, yes, the Academy did say, because she's a puppet, no Oscar.
I thought Miss Piggy's part was much more interesting than Kermit's part also. Even though his banjo playing was terrific. I was watching his hands the whole time.
I agree, but I also, as much as I do like the Miss Piggy stuff more, I did have the thought of like watching Kermit thinking, this is crazy that this is happening at the Oscars.
Yeah.
That they have a puppet performing at the Oscars completely earnestly as if he is performing there, which
I thought that was really cool too.
like obviously by this point the Muppet Show had taken the world by storm. Everyone loved the Muppets, but it's still kind of wild that you just have a puppet character performing a whole song at the Oscars.
Yeah. And it's fun also to think of Jim like hunched back there like, hee, I'm on the Oscars. Yeah, this was like, I haven't felt this for a long time, but I was feeling like, oh, I'm proud of you guys. You're doing it. Yeah,
it is one of those, like we said, like Muppet Show was super popular, like the most watched show in the world or whatever they claim. But it doesn't really sink in until you see them in the outside world and see a bunch of people who we clock as famous laughing and enjoying them. So yeah.
Who's the little man who wrote the songs for them?
Paul Williams.
Yeah, I like seeing him too in the audience.
Yeah. But he did not win, unfortunately.
No.
Rainbow Connection did not win the Oscar that year. A song called It Goes Like It Goes.
Yeah. From
Won.
the movie Norma Ray.
Which everyone remembers just as much as Rainbow Connection.
It says on the Wikipedia that it won to the consternation of some critics. So, yeah, how are you not going to give that? They fucked up. I think they would admit at this point that they fucked up.
3-6 Mafia has more Oscars than Kermit the Frog.
Next up, March 20th, 1980, the Muppets welcome actor Alan Arkin for episode 420, man. But it's not doobies that have Alan acting insane. It's Bunsen's super powerful Jekyll and Hyde potion, which he carries around with him in just a regular old drinking glass. Obviously, he gets the potion mixed up with some bicarbonate of soda and gives the potion to Alan, who turns into a terrible beast. He terrorizes the Bun Bun brothers, a gaggle of singing rabbits, ripping them from their holes, stomping on them, tearing apart their stage as they try to sing Zippity-Doo-Dah. The rabbits run to Kermit for help, but he also ends up drinking the potion and going bonkers. In typical Muppet Show style, this doesn't resolve itself as much as the show just ends. Highlights include, well, where do I begin? The show starts with an amazing production of Devil Went Down to Georgia with like really cool special effects. The Zippity-Doo-Dah scene is inspired and surprisingly horrific. And Fozzie has his best stand-up segment that he's had in like 4 years or something. And the last song that Alan Arkin sings about being a pig was making me laugh so hard. I like that song. He was just literally describing all stuff that pigs do.
And he wrote that song.
I mean, when I was listening to it and thinking about that, I was like, I would write this song if I was just like in my kitchen making a pork chop or something. Like,
pig, pig, pig. I'm going to eat a pig.
Yeah. But if I was Miss Piggy, I would like that song. It was kind of a nice depiction of pigs, I thought.
I just don't think she likes when people call too much attention to the fact that she is a pig.
That's true. That's true. All the pigs don't seem to like that too much. But yeah, you're right. Alan Arkin is an actor who's been around forever and is still quite famous. I would guess most people know him from Little Miss Sunshine, but he's also in Catch-22, The Rocketeer, Edward Scissorhands, Glengarry Glen Ross, Gattaca. You've seen this guy in something. If you don't recognize him, picture him bald, and then you will know who he is. In 1980, I can't really find anything in particular he was doing that he'd be promoting via The Muppet Show. He was just a famous guy, I think. Next, we watched a short clip of Gene Shalit, movie critic and resident weirdo of The Today Show. He's basically the Gonzo of The Today Show, I would say.
He's like Gonzo and Fozzie had a baby.
Yo, gross. He is exactly like that. You're right. And he was talking about the Muppet pipes, which, as you remember, were some pipes in a dressing room utility closet in 30 Rockefeller Center. And in approximately 1964, Jim and his gang of merry tricksters secretly painted them up all wacky before an appearance on the Jack Parr Show. And they seem to have been semi-rediscovered in 1980 when the building was being remodeled. And that's what they're talking about on this episode. So they have Jim on, and he's walking Gene through the history of the pipes. Gene keeps interrupting him, which was driving me bonkers. And we get some really cool close-up like shots of the pipes, like a better look at them than I've ever seen before. And it's cool, but Gene Shalit talks too much, and he should just let Jim do his thing.
Yeah, they are the like worst comedy duo.
Yeah, they really are the two most awkward people in the universe, being like, yeah, my pipes. And then he's like, yes, the pipes. Here
Hieroglyphics. Look at these, Jim. What does that say? Don't worry, I'll read it.
Yeah, and then Jim's like, oh. It was very bad.
Yeah, it's just the energies of Gene Shalit and Jim Henson just don't match really well. Yeah, it is nice to see the pipes, like you said, and the video that we actually watched, it's like a nice compilation somebody put together on YouTube where it shows this 1980 appearance where they're talking about the pipes being unearthed, and Gene Shalit says they're going to turn it into a museum, which they eventually...
And it seems like he's joking.
So it kind of sort of, like, Jim doesn't seem to be taking him seriously, but Gene Shalit I can't tell because that's his vibe. But
At the end, he is like, he's like, seriously, we're going to preserve this forever.
he also calls it the Jim Henson Memorial Museum,
He
which
does say
at this
that.
point, Jim is still going to live for another 10 years.
Yes.
Um,
And I mean, at this point, probably assumes he's going to live for another 50 years.
There's no reason for him to think that he's going to be dead in 10 years.
Yeah.
But yes, they actually have now turned that into a museum. It took much longer than they planned. I don't think it actually became really a museum until the 2000s.
Yeah, but I assume there was like a "don't mess with these pipes" order posted somewhere.
But yes, now if you take the NBC tour of 30 Rockefeller Center, you can now see the pipes presented behind glass in a very nice little thing that they do show off in that video as well. They have Frank Oz go and take a look at them.
Yeah, and he's better. He's more commanding.
Well, he's also, they let him be alone, so no one's there interrupting him.
But yeah, that was cool. I assume we'll watch these clips in the 90s and whenever else they pop up again. 2000.
Yeah, the Muppets, specifically Jim and Frank, start to be on the Today Show a lot more. Like in the early, the 60s, the 50s, 60s, era, Jim was on there a bunch that we didn't get to see. And now getting into the time of promoting more movies and the Dark Crystal and stuff, they start to come back and promote a lot more things on the Today Show. There was this great, really long compilation that I had found with all of their Today Show appearances. And it has since been deleted from YouTube.
No, we got to download this stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I did for that one, unfortunately. And so there's a dozen Today Show appearances that I thought I had found and now have maybe lost. So, we may not be able to watch all of them, but we will definitely talk about them when they come up.
All these Muppet moments, they're lost like tears in the rain, Matt. You got to download them. Finally, themes from the previous 2 episodes are intertwined in this 3rd episode starring magician Doug Henning from May 1st, 1980, namely magic and lots of rabbits being murdered. Fozzie, ever the hack and act stealer, has decided that today of all days, the day the most famous magician in the world is on the show.
At least in Canada.
I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Kinda. I mean, whatever. Shut up. Has decided that today is the day that he should be a magician. What a loser. Unfortunately, his backstage rehearsing has 2 unintended side effects. First, he spawns an infinite number of rabbits that think he's their daddy out of his hat, and his tricks are so bad that they make poor innocent Robin not believe in magic anymore. The latter problem is solved by a quick song and magic routine with Doug and Robin, where we all learn that the true magic is inside of us. And Fozzie's rabbit problem is never solved, and I guess he's just got hundreds of children now. Highlights include Doug. He was very goofy, and I really love that he had something to do that wasn't singing and dancing. And they highlighted his skill well, and they integrated it into the plot well. And the show kind of really felt like a variety show in a way that it doesn't always feel like. And Piggy's opening number with a disappearing Kermit was really sweet. And Fozzie's magic act is hilarious. I love the rabbits who are ruining all of his tricks and just being it's under his hat and stuff like that. Was very funny. Also, Fozzie had a lot to do in all these episodes, and it was very nice to see him. I miss that guy.
Yeah, notably not a lot of Piggy in those same episodes.
Yeah, Piggy just pretty much had acts to do and wasn't involved in any of the backstage stuff, which is fine. She can take a back seat every now and then. She's on the damn Oscars. Doug Henning was a Canadian stage magician who seems like is at least partially credited with making magic fun and cool again with his wild costumes and large-scale illusions. I think he was sort of a precursor or a contemporary to... Who are the guys with the lions?
Siegfried and Roy?
Yeah. And also, who's David Copperfield? Is
hey,
that the other guy?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. I think he was right before David Copperfield came in and was I'm have cool tricks and I'm sexy.
Goodbye, Statue of Liberty. Bloop.
Yeah. And we never saw it again. He still has it held ransom. He also did a lot of work on Broadway, creating illusions for shows, and I believe even starring in at least 1, but maybe 2 Broadway-based magic shows, which is crazy. He also had a string of very popular TV specials called Doug Henning's World of Magic that aired yearly from 76 to 82. I'm frankly surprised that I've never heard of him, and I feel like if I was born 4 years earlier, I would have been a huge fan. He had a doll line and stuff too, strawberry shortcake looking little dolls and stuff. Very 80s man.
That looked like him?
I'm not sure what they're supposed to look like. They're called Doug and Debbie Henning's Wonder Whims. That's what they're called.
I wonder if this was the Cabbage Patch Kids of Canada.
No, now, Matt, I think he was famous everywhere and not just Canada.
I don't buy it.
I don't think Canada could support a Cabbage Patch type doll line all on its own.
That's why I've
too.
never heard of the Wonder Whims. They didn't
That's
support
true.
them.
They're weird. There's almost they're kind of like a cult Cabbage Patch Kids. There's
Yeah.
like a ram, lots of strange animals you wouldn't otherwise see in a doll line.
He was very big into like transcendental meditation and everything.
Yeah.
So that would make some sense.
Yeah,
But-
I think there's some thought that he died of cancer, and I think there's some thought that he was like so into transcendental meditation that he did not seek help for his cancer. He tried to meditate it away. But
I had heard of Doug Henning's name before. I feel like in relation to like just people talking about magic acts, I thought he was more of the like spoon bending kind of guy, like a little bit more of a trickster. I did not realize he was just like a straight up magician.
Yeah, I think he was almost more on the side of like, this isn't real, but you believe, like your heart makes your heart feel good. So
Yeah.
we're all gonna have a good time. That's all. I didn't look into the history of this time period because I'll catch up with it later. I'm sure nothing really is going on.
Some other things in the world of Muppets that were happening around this time. On April 7th, 1980, or at least the week of April 7th, 1980, Big Bird and Oscar were once again on the Hollywood Squares.
Wow.
This will be their last Muppet appearance, though, for 20 years.
Oh.
Mostly because Hollywood Squares didn't really exist for the next 20 years.
Oh, okay.
It kind of goes away. There's a couple spin-off versions of it, but Hollywood Squares, as it is in the 70s and 80s, doesn't really come back until like the early 2000s. So it'll be a while, and I think Kermit is the next one we see popping up on there.
Did you watch it when it came back?
I do remember seeing Hollywood Squares. I feel like that's like a
love that
sick
show.
day thing,
Yeah,
or like the Game Show
totally.
Network kind of thing where it was just always on.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I have a cold. I get to hang out with Whoopi Goldberg now.
And what's his face? Bergeron.
Tom Bergeron.
Tom
of
Bergeron.
course. Yeah.
Also during this time, the Muppet Show is taking a hiatus from producing season 5 episodes, so Jim is bumming around New York and Albuquerque and a bunch of other places. On April 15th, 1980, he went with his daughter Lisa to visit Sherry Lansing and hatch an idea for a Maurice Sendak movie.
Oh.
So there was this idea to do a movie with Maurice Sendak sort of helping along with the story. It was going to be called...
Oh, he was still around at the time.
Oh, yeah. He lived until like the 2000s. It was going to be called The Varied Adventures of Mischievous Miles. And according to an outline, it was going to be a small boy with a fear of fish who doesn't mean to get into trouble, but when there is an opportunity to be mischievous, he almost always takes it.
There's one detail in there that's standing out to me.
The fear of fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I guess they were like, all right, mischievous little boy. So like where the wild things are? No, this boy's scared of fish.
And then also the question is, why don't you just make Where the Wild Things Are, you weirdos?
Well, so it continues his life in the real world and on an island of monsters would include lots of singing. And at 5 points, the story would diverge because this was supposed to be an interactive
Oh my
choose your own
God.
adventure film.
Just make a normal thing, Jim.
The audience would be encouraged to yell out which
Oh, it was
direction.
in theaters.
Yes, it was the plan. This obviously never happened. But there was going to be like a dozen variations of which direction this movie could go, so that it would
Oh
be a
my
different
God.
movie each time it was shown. John Stone of Sesame Street fame was actually brought in and met with Jim and Maurice Sendak to talk about this idea.
Yeah.
And John Stone was brought in to write the script and develop, and apparently development continued for 2 years, but the project was shelved because it says Sendak was busy with new books and Jim was busy with his other like
Yeah,
Dark
that's
Crystal and
why.
stuff, not
That's why it
because
didn't
it's
work out.
completely impossible.
I'm sure John Stone probably was like, okay, but in his head thought, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, you want me to write 12 scripts for a movie that will never happen? No thanks, Jim.
And then imagine the poor guy in the projection booth who's like, got to sit up there and be like, what are they screaming? They're supposed to be screaming. And now I have to like, what?
I have to move these giant reels of film over,
Yeah.
depending on what the audience is
And
yelling
there's
out at
4
me.
times more of them than any other movie that's ever existed.
This is something that could be done today, like feasibly, because everything's just a digital file now.
Yeah,
you
you
can just
can
push
do
a
it on
button.
streaming, no problem.
Yeah, they do it with Netflix.
Yeah.
But Yeah. Come on, Jim. You really think this was going to happen?
Yeah, start slow. And then they worked on the Jim Henson Creature Shop did work on Where the Wild Things Are, right?
Yes, actually, yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of all came together in the end, but just with a very different movie.
What a fool. What a genius and a fool at the same time.
Also during this time, on April 25th, Jay Tarsis and Tom Patchett head on over to London to start helping out the rest of the team working on the Great Muppet Caper script. We had mentioned them previously, that it was a team of people who ended up working on that script, and because it was the 80s, you had to be shipped to England to work together on a script.
No Google calling each other.
And apparently phone calls weren't good enough.
It's probably really expensive.
Oh yeah, I forgot long distance was a thing.
Yeah.
And the only other note I got out of Jim's journal from this week was about that Today Show visit. He also got to say hi to his old friend Willard Scott during that visit, who was working on the Today Show at the time. I didn't realize Willard Scott and Jim Henson were old friends from their days starting out at the same TV station in Washington.
What the heck?
Yeah. The Washington, D.C. TV station where Sam and Friends was apparently the same station, or at least building, where Willard Scott used to work.
And he's the guy who was like, it's your 100th birthday. Is that right?
Yep.
And he was the original Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. A wild career that man had. There was also, during this little hiatus, on that same day, actually, as the Today Show appearance, Jim went and visited a building at 833 Lexington Avenue in New York that would end up being the very first Muppet Stuff store.
Oh, I never even heard of the Muppet Stuff store.
Yeah, so this was a store that just basically sold Muppet toys, dolls, apparel, books, videos, memorabilia, and it opened in late October 1980. So at this point, they're still just looking at buildings, picking out the space for it. And yeah, it was apparently heralded as Muppet Stuff, a shop with nothing but. So, yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, and it seemed like the whole conceit was that the design, it was supposed to look like a workshop in the midst of a project, and so it was supposed to be like messy and cluttered and have some character to it. And they had walk-around characters and holiday like children's things happening, and people apparently liked it, and they partnered with some, like, I guess, in a franchise kind of situation with some people in Canada, and they opened 9 Muppet Stuff stores in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, just due to retail slowdown in the early 90s, Muppet Stuff closed its doors, but it was open for at least like 10 years.
That's wild.
Yeah, I had no idea that it existed, and then in looking into this, I saw like a picture of a store that just had Muppet Stuff on the front, and I was like, wait, that's a real place? Not
Cool.
like a fake building in a movie or something?
It sounds like a store at Disney World too. Like,
Yeah. And it like, if you look it up, you're like, oh, okay, that's just... It literally was like, you know, the Disney store and those kinds of stores before those were even really a thing. But I would not mind, you know, going to a Muppet Stuff store.
No. Were it still around, we could make a trek there if you support us on Patreon. Now your only option is to support us enough that we can go to Disney World, unfortunately.
That's going to cost a lot more than
I know.
going to just a random street in New York.
Well, we better bust out your credit cards, everybody.
But getting back to what we watched this week, on March 13th, 1980, the Jonathan Winters episode of The Muppet Show aired. And Sam, how many stars did you give this episode?
This one was tough for me. I gave it 2 stars, but it doesn't deserve 2 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 1 star. Yeah.
But in my heart, I know there's a 4-star episode here. It just didn't make it to film.
Yeah, I put down in my notes, this might be the worst use of a guest ever in the history of The Muppet Show.
I wrote it feels like a very season 1, like when they had a guest that they didn't care about on season 1 and they were just like there one time. And
like the things you mentioned, your 2 highlights of him in the dressing room, are literally like the 2 things he does in this episode.
Uh-huh.
And they are about 10 seconds long.
And he's not even in the final act, and it's kind of like, what happened? What's gone wrong here? And he's kind of backstage watching, but it's just like, something happened.
Yeah,
like,
which they've done a couple more times before. We've seen where they have like the person not really involved in the final act, but they're at least like supporting it, or they're slightly involved, or they help set it up or something.
They've been involved in the backstage plot. Heavily,
yeah.
Generally is what
this feels like
is.
Jonathan Winters had like 3 hours to be on set and record, and they were like, oh, you're only here for 3 hours? We had more plans. And he's like, well, too bad, I'm leaving at noon, so you better start recording now.
Yeah, but I have a hard time believing that, because a lot
yeah, for sure. But that just feels like what happened, because he's barely in this episode, and what he does looks like it took 1 take
Oh gosh, the hats, the changing
Oh
hats
my God.
act.
Well, and the whole conceit of this episode is based on a
Oh, that
stereotypical trope of an old Romani woman who has cursed
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
And it's a curse-themed episode that has happened on, it was a big trope in the 80s specifically.
I
And
think Fonzie's been cursed a number of times, I feel like.
yeah, and it's just it's a negative stereotype of specifically older Romani women.
Yeah.
That they are vengeful and can curse you.
You know what? This was a great time to bring back Tamanilla Grinderfall. That would have been great.
Man, yeah, just have an old Muppet witch
Yeah.
come back. But yeah, as you mentioned, this episode also features a lot of things that would normally happen, like on the Muppet Show.
None of it's crazy at all.
A hat
It's
rack falls
all-
on Scooter.
Yeah.
Some sandbags almost kill Kermit, but that has happened before when Beauregard messed up.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand.
The first act is completely incomprehensible with the tiger and lion escaping.
Yeah, so we have there's a circus scene with some pigs, which, pig opening number always going to be questionable, but thankfully they're not the racist ones in this episode.
No.
We get them performing they're kind of dressed like safari people, like out on
Which is
like on a
really
safari.
weird because
but-
why are they at the circus?
Yeah, and they're at the circus when suddenly they're working with a tiger and a lion runs in, the same lion we saw in the Sylvester Stallone episode,
With a
runs
gun.
in with a gun to save his tiger friend.
Yeah.
They are named Butch and Sundance, so clearly a reference
Sure.
to that. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this. It's fine.
It's not. The whole thing only takes like 30 seconds, and it's also like, what is happening? You can't understand what they're saying, and it's very like jumbled. It's like one of the laziest things I've seen on the Muppet Show, I feel like. In my opinion, at least. But you think it's fine, so obviously you liked it a lot.
No, I think that lazy, and this is probably, I'm sure they worked really hard in this episode, but a lot of this episode does feel lazier than other
Yeah.
episodes. And I
Like
think
it
that's,
got away from them, I think is what it feels like to me.
but there's also, I think there are some things in this episode that if you took them out and just like watch them on YouTube, there are some truly great things in this episode that I think if you just watch certain things, you could love it. But there's a lot of stuff in here that, the sum of its parts, very bad. We do get a backstage story a little bit that starts here. That's not even generous, I would say. But Kermit is apparently going to put on stage a half horse, half watermelon act. But apparently the horse half came down with hoof and mouth disease, which prevents it from doing its act. And so instead, they are going to throw Jonathan Winters out there on stage. I hate this man, Sam. I hate him.
You hate him?
I hate him so much. Nothing about him
love
is
him.
redeeming.
I love him.
I hate him so
I think
much.
He's hilarious.
Oh, I hate him. I hate him.
I love the way he reacts to the Muppets, where he's just like talking to them so conversationally. I think he's funny, and I think his act is not funny, but it feels like something that would have been really funny. Where he's putting the hats on, it feels like something that would have been so funny in the 60s that people would have been like dying because it was so funny. But he's really just like putting on a hat and being like, "Now I'm a cowboy."
Yeah.
And then he puts on a different hat and he's like, "No, I'm a British gentleman." That's it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
This happens because Jonathan Winters is going to go out there, but his props have been stolen. And so this is apparently Fozzie's prop box that he
Yeah.
lets Jonathan Winters use. The prop box contains a noose, alarmingly.
It's sitting right on top of it, which is, scary. Like someone's sending a message to Fozzie or something.
Yeah. It's probably Statler and Waldorf, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, Jonathan Winters goes on to do a hat act, I guess, just putting on different hats and doing impressions. I feel like this would maybe have worked a little better if it was like, if it seemed more random, if it was like I think there's
Yeah.
a slightly tweaked version of this where like Fozzie's just like, I have this hat, and they're a little bit weirder and they get weirder and he has to try and think of like, oh God, how
Yeah.
do I impersonate this thing? How do I be a squid? How do I do
that's
this?
what they're. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's kind of what they're doing, but the hats are so boring that it's like, I think he is making it up to some degree. And I love that Fozzie's hanging out in the box and like watching a master at work. And at one point he's like, "That was terrific," and then Jonathan Winters is like, "No, it wasn't."
Yeah,
was
which I
charming.
could almost give them the benefit of the doubt of like, okay, did he actually know this wasn't working?
Yeah,
'cause,
I think so.
Yeah, he's extremely lucky that there's a laugh track added to this show. Because there is just there is quite the laughter happening during this, and I
Yeah.
don't understand why at most of
No.
it.
But I do not hate him. I find him extremely charming.
See, even the backstage things you mentioned, I don't love. So
Oh,
the redeeming things for me about this episode are not at all involving Jonathan Winters.
okay. Well, what are they? Is it the aliens?
Almost. So
Okay.
the next backstage section is when the asteroid falls on Kermit's hand, and there are apparently aliens traveling inside of it.
Yeah, this is a genuinely shocking moment.
Yes.
It's like pretty extravagant. The asteroid's huge, and it just lands so gently right on Kermit's little hand.
And yeah, it does seem like a bizarre, weird enough thing that could happen on the Muppet Show, but the fact that it then cracks open like an egg to reveal two aliens.
They're kind of putting a hat on a hat at that point. It's like you could have just had the meteor.
Well, and again, this feels like a thing where, okay, maybe the aliens could have been the backstage plot. You don't need this curse and aliens visiting the show.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so it's just a lot going on at the same time, and I feel like these aliens maybe should have been more of the plot than they got to be because everything happens to be about this curse.
This next part was my favorite part of the episode, though. Just one single line. And Jonathan Winters is sitting in his dressing room when a shark comes in. And Jonathan Winters is like, yes, hello. And then he sees the shark and goes, oh, interesting. And it made me laugh really hard.
I think at the time, watching this episode the first time through, I would agree that this felt okay. The fact that this ends up being like one of the two things he ends up doing in the show, it feels weirder in hindsight of like, oh, you only give him like two backstage things in this entire episode, and this is one of them?
Yeah. It feels like they had a lot of these ad-libbed things, but they didn't. Well, they cut a lot of them out. And then there's one later where it feels like they just cut a huge chunk of it out because there's like a really abrupt cut. But we'll talk about that in a second. But I feel like they had a bunch of footage with him, but for whatever reason, they were like, this doesn't really work. So we're going to get rid of all of it.
Next is one of the things that I think is one of the redeeming parts of this episode.
Okay.
We get a bear on patrol that I actually like.
Oh, I thought this was a bad one.
What?
It was so clumsy.
This is Fozzie trying to arrest an octopus as he's bringing it in to the station. And the octopus is attached to Fozzie's head and is wrestling him the entire time. One of my favorite lines from Link Hogthrob in this is, I don't remember why he brings up something about the pinky. Oh, he's talking about fingerprinting, trying to fingerprint the octopus. And he says, he must have a pinky. Where else would he wear his pinky ring? And I just like the idea of Link Hogthrob being a person who wears a pinky ring, and also just assuming everyone else wears a pinky ring.
Everyone else in the world is wearing a pinky ring, of course.
I think that was the first thing that actually got a chuckle out of me in this episode, was that line
I
and this
guess
performance.
it wasn't a bad bear on patrol. I'm looking at this picture of the octopus in his little outfit. It's pretty cute.
Yeah, at the end of the sketch, the octopus steals Fozzie's cop clothes and walks his way out of the station.
Yeah.
Leaving Fozzie nude.
Nude on the floor.
And worried that he is nude. He looks up at Link and is embarrassed, even though normally he only wears a handkerchief and a hat. But similar to Kermit.
As a policeman, he wears a whole pants and everything, and shoes.
I guess it would be weirder, like, even though we see Fozzie not wearing clothes most of the time, if he was wearing his Bear on Patrol outfit and then started, like, to take it off mid-scene, he'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa.
No good. Do you think he puts on underwear when he puts on his Bear on Patrol?
Oh, tidy whities for sure.
Yes, I was like, he's kind of got Homer Simpson shaped body.
Yes.
So I feel like he would look like Homer Simpson in his tidy whities.
Yes, absolutely.
It might be kind of cute. It might be kind of funny if Fozzie just was always wearing tidy whities.
He could be for a lot of us that we don't see his lower half.
Yeah.
But I could see Fozzie, like stumbling out to get the morning paper in his tidy whities and his
just
robe.
in his underwear.
Yeah.
A robe flapping open.
Scratching himself a lot.
Oh, I hope he has a nice house. If he's going out to get his paper, he must have a yard.
Yeah, now that you think about it, though, I think he's probably in an apartment.
I think he lives in New York in an apartment as well.
We then have a UK spot here where the old Romani woman is singing Golden Earrings from an extremely troublesome movie.
Uh-oh.
Also called Golden Earrings, which features, I believe, characters in brownface. And is a very problematic movie in its own right. And so the fact that they're performing this song in this way with these characters you don't need to watch this UK spot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's better left to the UK.
But we have a great Muppet Labs after that, where, Bunsen's trying to help everyone with their travel worries, and he has invented a luggage compressor where you just you toss your suitcase into this thing that looks like an x-ray machine, and it compresses your luggage down into a flat form so you can fit it into the plane overhead.
A great and practical idea. I love this invention. It's basically like those vacuum packs.
But then, of course, Beaker wanders in, and you know what's about to happen. Even though when we're talking about Beaker going on vacation here, he walks in wearing a sombrero, singing like the luau, aloha, always song. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bunsen says he looks cute, which is true. He does look very cute.
He does look very cute. And they tried to flatten a big old steamer trunk, but unfortunately, Beaker himself gets pulled through.
Which is also blamed on the curse, but I don't think that she can take a lot of credit for this.
No, this would have happened regardless of whether or not she was there.
There is not a universe in which this did not happen at this point.
Yeah. No, Bunsen does not invent a luggage compressor that flattens things, and Beaker doesn't get to avoid that fate.
No. No. I thought it was this. It maybe wasn't this episode, but there is one where you can hear Kermit in the background introducing Muppet Labs, which I thought was kind of interesting. Do you remember what I'm talking about? I don't even think you see the episode of Muppet Labs that he introduces, but it's just kind of like a peek behind the curtain that I don't know. I don't think of Muppet Labs as like on stage all that often, even though it must be. But I'd love to hear what Kermit's explanation of what he thinks Muppet Labs is.
Right, because then it calls into question the kayfabe of Muppet Labs and what is the truth here?
Are they real scientists?
Right.
Are they performers? Is that why Beaker's always helping out backstage?
Yeah, or is, Beaker just like Gonzo? He's like a performance artist who is going out there knowing exactly what's going to happen to him. They've rehearsed it a few times.
In that case, Beaker is 10 times the Gonzo. There should be an episode where Gonzo is jealous of Beaker. That would be really good.
He's like, man, you get to get destroyed every single week.
And Beaker's just like weeping. I don't want it. There's a difference between you and I.
Then we get another, the Jonathan Winters in the dressing room. Just a couple of lines, quick jokes with the aliens.
Very quick, suspiciously quick. This is where it's like they got like a good rhythm going, and then it's just like the end. And it feels like they went back and forth for a long time, and maybe it just was like not good. And they had to use some of it to get Jonathan Winters in there and fill some time. But I did like this alien because he's just like, he sounds like Bert, and he laughs like Bert as well.
Yeah. But this is an alien pretending to be Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think you're right. I think this is a good premise, and they probably ran with it for a while because Frank Oz is a great improv guy, and then also Jonathan Winters is a great improv guy. So they just probably went back and forth for a half hour and then cut it down to 2 minutes.
I like when he says, I'm Jonathan Winters, and then, who are you? And then Jonathan Winters is like, oh, I'll have to check. And then he checks his watch. I just think he's so like unflappable and subtle. That's what I liked. I would have liked to see him really interact with the Muppets a lot.
Well, that's what I do enjoy those more subtle moments. I think for me, it's the ones with like the hat sketch, and then before that where he's like, "There's a curse on this show," and he just like does that voice multiple times. Where I'm just like,
that's the old lady voice he does on the Scooby-Doo episode I was talking about.
Yeah, I like in those moments he's doing the thing where he's there in spite of the Muppets. He is there to like do his own gag, and it doesn't really fold into what the Muppets are doing, or he doesn't think about them at all. He's just like, I'm going to do my old lady voice now. Look out.
And that's the thing that's funny in the 60s that isn't funny in the 80s also.
Yeah. I think similarly, the multiple things throughout this episode that earned its content warning at the beginning about racial stereotypes are things that, unfortunately, back then in the 80s, people were not probably writing letters to complain to the TV station about. But
that's true. But I was looking up like the history of the slur for Romani people, and it said that they voted, like they made a proclamation, like the Romani like World Council, that word was not to be used anymore in like 1969.
Oh, well, all right then.
So they did actually know.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people who still use that word. And to be fair, there are people who use that word proudly and describe themselves using that word. But yes, I also was doing a lot of research of like, okay, hear this word tossed around very loosely at times, and clearly it's said 1,000 times in this episode. So I was like, I need to understand more about this word. And, like a lot of things in life, it's a complex issue. And there's a lot to dig into. So we're just going to not say it. We then have a cute caterpillar sketch where a little caterpillar is trudging through a storm. And it's getting windy and rainy, and it seems like it would be a miserable experience for the probably 4 or 5 puppeteers that it takes to make this work, because there's actual wind and rain hitting this caterpillar. And it's just a short, cute little thing where I feel like it's one of those, they had a cool idea for a puppet and wanted to see if they could pull it off.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting caterpillar, too. He's like he's like a hickory horned devil caterpillar with like that stick, like that point coming out of his butt. I feel like somebody like saw that in a book and was like, I want to make a Muppet of that, because they didn't see it on Google. Didn't exist yet. But yeah, this one is just so random. Like at this point in an already very random episode, I was kind of like, I don't care about this.
When you said this feels like a season 1 episode, I think this just even adds to that. As much as I enjoyed this part, I think it just the randomness and the looseness of the backstage plot, a lot of this just does not come together into like a coherent episode. And I'm almost like, if Jonathan Winters' parts weren't so like, I see why this gets 2 stars from you, because I do think if I like the Jonathan Winters stuff just a little bit more, the rest of this stuff would lift this episode up. But for me, I disliked all the Jonathan Winters stuff so much, and the fact that he wasn't involved in the final number just brings that whole thing down.
Yeah. And there's no punchline to the caterpillar thing either. He just is walking.
It just gets windier and rainier.
Or anything like that. But it is cool, and it is like, I didn't think about the technical side of this stuff is something I forget to think about a lot. But in this case, that it is very cool.
The payoff to this whole episode and the finale of what this curse is doing to the show is that it apparently turns everyone Swedish.
Yeah, which is something that could have happened earlier in the episode, and maybe that would have been funny too.
But instead we get at the very, very end, everyone is going to turn Swedish, which basically just means they start speaking mock Swedish, like the Swedish chef. So Gonzo starts speaking mock Swedish, then Scooter, then Fozzie. And then we are introduced to the final number, which are the trolls dancing around. These are the trolls. One of them was involved in the Liza Minnelli episode. Yeah. They look like supersized Muppets, essentially. They look like walk-around character versions of Dr. Teeth a little bit. And
there's uncles, I think we decided, maybe.
Yeah. And so they're out there, doing the latest TikTok dance that the teens will surely pick up on soon. And everyone starts to interrupt because they are turning Swedish and interrupting the show.
And it's stupid.
It's not great. And
yeah, when Jonathan Winters didn't come out, it's like something has gone terribly wrong here.
Yeah, like I feel like he should have been involved earlier with the speaking mock Swedish stuff and being cursed. But yeah, it was just a disconnect that I didn't enjoy. We find out that it apparently cost Statler and Waldorf $7 an hour for a curse, which seems like a pretty good deal.
That's a pretty reasonable deal. I don't know how much that was in the 80s, but it had to have only been like $20-something.
Yeah, not that bad.
Oh.
But then there's also a little moment where Jonathan Winters like sort of hints that he also maybe paid for part of the curse or will pay to extend it.
I think he wanted to pay to extend it so he could be Swedish again. I think he enjoyed being Swedish, perhaps.
I was like wondering if he was like wanting to bail on the show, even though it was the end, that like maybe he had set this up to like curse the show so that he wouldn't have to do anything on stage.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unclear what his motivations were.
But the only thing he does on stage this entire episode is the hat act. And the only things he does backstage is talks to a shark and aliens. So he does not really interact with the Muppets at all, aside from Fozzie for a little bit. But then we have a surprising episode, I will say.
Okay.
On March 20th.
I think there's like two previous episodes you've been like, this batch of episodes gonna suck ass. And I've been very curious about why you think they suck ass, but we'll see what you think about this one.
So this was based on, I feel like I have read things of people talking about the Alan Arkin episode, saying that it was not one of their favorites.
Huh.
And so I was like, oh, Jonathan Winters, I have heard many things. I had watched a little bit of that one. I knew what to expect. The Alan Arkin one I had heard negative things about, and the Doug Henning things I had heard boring things about. And so I was like, this is going to be a trudge. But I gave this episode 4 stars.
I give this episode 5 stars. It's one of my favorite episodes of The Muppet Show now.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And weird in the best ways. It does have, and I still don't know why, a content warning at the beginning of the episode.
I was going to ask you about that too, because there is a very cruel Pigs in Space, which they've never, ever content warned for that before.
No.
But other than that, I couldn't think of what it could be unless Disney has like a really hard line against Zippity Doodah.
That was my only guess, but it still feels weird because we've had, songs from other troubling pieces of media before on The Muppet Show without any sort of warning. But I could not put my finger on what in this episode would have earned a content warning. Maybe it was a mistake that they put it on there. Maybe it is because Zippity Doodah is related to Song of the South, and Disney was like, we are distancing ourselves from this song as much as possible. I don't really know, but it is bizarre, and I think that was like maybe also set me up for being prepared to not like the episode as much as I ended up, because I was like,
because it kind of puts you on the edge of your seat. It could. Oh, you know what? I was also thinking it could be the devil and angel stuff, where it's like maybe a lot of people are sensitive about that and would like write a letter, and then now they can just be like, look, we put a content warning at the beginning. But us about that.
Did the Alice Cooper one get one where the literal devil is buying the Muppets' souls?
I don't think so. But maybe it's the devil and the angel
doing it.
That whole doing it. The angel who I was getting the weird feeling that it was like God. It was like the devil and God having to do it together,
Well, let's get into this episode. Okay. Notably, we did see Alan Arkin already on Sesame Street doing not funny things.
What was he on Sesame Street?
He was, they were the comedy duo of Larry and Phyllis, which replaced the first comedy duo that was on Sesame Street, which we also didn't love.
Oh, yeah. He was I remember this.
But yeah, it was just like a bumbling doofus comedy group thing that only lasted like a year, I think, and only a few sketches. But that also, I think, put me on edge because I don't think of Alan Arkin as a funny person, really. Like, he's a funny old man if he's written in like Little Miss Sunshine and things, but I do not see him as like a comedy guy, which maybe that's just what I have seen of him. So I think all of those things came together into an episode that I was worried about going in and thought might be dull or not funny. But I am right there with you where this is definitely one of my favorite episodes we've ever watched.
He's like stiff. He's stiff in a way that makes him turning into Jekyll funny. Mm-hmm. Because he's still kind of like blah, 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 when he's running around as a monster, or Hyde, I guess it is. But that is like, that makes it more funny that he's not very good at it. And then he like picks up that chair and to smash it, and he's kind of like looks embarrassed that he's smashing that chair.
Well, and I feel like there's a version of this where they would have done with somebody else where they wouldn't let them go like all out on the Hyde stuff and like really let them get as reckless as he does in this episode. And I feel like that is a credit to this episode, is just how wild they truly let him get.
Yes, there are a few moments where it's like, should you have pushed that down? Were you endangering people's lives? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And we have the opening number that you mentioned earlier. It is some of the Jug Huggers and other just generic Southern Muppets performing The Devil Went Down to Georgia, which is a Charlie Daniels Band song that was actually really recent at the time. It was only like a year old at the time they were making this episode. And yeah, wow, this is surprising that they did this, and also amazing.
It feels like they really fucking like that song. And they were like, let's make the best piece of fan art for Devil Went Down to Georgia of all time. Yeah,
from, an awful man, Charlie Daniels. But this is a good representation of his song. And this is...
It's a cool song, though. I like Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Oh, yeah. I love that song as a kid. And I always thought it was... So there's a version of this song where at the end, he says, I told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been. And clearly for the Muppets, they chose the radio version, which is, I told you once, you son of a gun. Yeah. But part of me was just like hoping, like something like, come on, Muppets.
That would have been cool. I got my hackles raised when that part was about to come, and I was like, are they gonna do it?
Just little Dave Goelz as this little Southern boy, just like, I told you once, you son of a bitch. And you're like, wow, they did it. It's like those old clips you hear of like Porky Pig being like, bit, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like having, they used the Jug Huggers. They did a great recent song for them, and they took away like any. This song is not really a metaphor song. This is like a straightforward devil playing against a young boy for his soul, and just every bit of it is
and
great.
The floating demons are really cool. The Floyd voice is a great choice for the devil, I think.
Yeah, the only if I had to critique this thing, I think Jim's performance as the old man, who's sort of the narrator of this.
Yeah,
there are times he like slips from the rhythm a little bit or gets a little out of time, where it's like, oh come on, this is like almost a perfect 10 points, but like it's like a 9.8 now, because there's a few times where it just feels like you had to rush that. You only had 1 or 2 takes to perform that, and didn't quite nail the performance on that. But overall, like, this is just an amazing sketch.
It was a very great start to the episode, and like surprisingly long, and just like when the devil like turns into like those 70s lines when he's playing his like, the computer lines. Very cool. Then I got extremely excited when the Bun Bun Brothers came out.
Why is that?
Because one of them's fucking Bean Bunny.
It is just Bean Bunny.
I was like, yes, I love Bean Bunny. Bean Bunny is one of my favorite Muppets because it's just such a funny character because he is so cute and lovable, and I love when horrible things happen to him, which obviously everybody does. But yeah, when Bean started talking, I was like extremely excited.
Yeah, we are about, in our timeline, 6 years from actual Bean Bunny.
I was surprised it was that long, because this episode feels like after it, Jim would be like, those bunnies worked really well. We should do like a whole bunny thing.
Yeah, he's really in the Dark Crystal Muppet Caper world right now.
Yeah.
I think a spinoff featuring just bunnies was not necessarily in the cards at this point.
Yeah, but I'm excited about Tales of Bunny Picnic, which sounds like the stupidest thing ever.
I have never seen it, but I know a lot of people have warm feelings for it. But yeah, the Bun Bun Brothers are here. It's a very rabbit-heavy batch of episodes we have.
Yeah.
But then we find out after the Bun Bun Brothers have left that Bunsen and Beaker are just carrying around an ultra-powerful Jekyll and Hyde potion, which seems like a poor choice.
Specifically, Bunsen is carrying it around, and Beaker is completely aware of the entire situation that is happening. And it was a great bit of like, they both have the glass, and Bunsen is like, I don't know which one it is. And Beaker is like, I know exactly which one it is. And he keeps switching it back, and Bunsen's like, no, you fool.
Yeah, and they give that potion, unsurprisingly, to Alan Arkin, who immediately transforms into a werewolf-looking version of Alan Arkin.
And he kind of lethargically tears up his dressing room.
But at the same time, like, he doesn't really need to try that hard, because clearly he's very, very strong.
Yeah. It's not all just made out of foam. He's just super strong.
And Kermit's out there to introduce the next number, which is the Bun Bun Brothers performing Zippity Doo Dah. And Scooter tries to warn him that something has gone awry with the show, and Kermit won't hear it, and puts the number on as planned, much to the detriment of many a bunny.
Yeah,
because we get a misleadingly adorable number where, for a while, for a good 30
for a
seconds,
long time. Yeah,
these rabbits and squirrels are just singing Zippity Doo Dah and enjoying themselves until Alan Arkin's hide comes out from the side and literally murders these bunnies one by one.
He's like reaching into the holes and pulling out their limp bodies and throwing them on the ground and stomping on them.
He rips them up with such force that they fly into the air. He grabs one. He takes a piece of fence post, pulls it off the fence, and then throws one up into the air and plays baseball with its body. He takes the entire tree out of the ground and throws it at the bunnies. Then he knocks over the entire set.
It kicks so much ass.
I watched this 3 times. I rewound it and had to watch it again, and then showed my wife. I was just like, watch this. This is one of the best things the Muppets have ever done, because it
really is.
It goes from being so misleadingly cute to so unhinged. It's so
really
quickly.
Like the spirit of what they were doing in the 60s too, where it's like,
well, and you
think
just
this is
don't expect it to go that far.
No, because they haven't really they don't go full tilt on the Muppet Show super often. They play it pretty safe usually.
Yeah, I could see him sort of I think a close to this is what we saw last time we talked about the sheep number, where the wolf is offing the sheep one by one, and then he gets shot in the head by Super Sheep.
Yeah.
And I think that's one where it's like, okay, that's close to this as far as like murderous rampage goes, but he gets so he clearly wants to kill these rabbits. Like he is reaching into their hole, trying to make sure he gets every last single one of them before he destroys their world.
Outside of the fiction, he is clearly also having fun.
Oh,
going
yeah.
ballistic on these bunnies.
Yeah, no, this alone is one of the best things I think I've ever seen in the
it
Muppet
was
Show.
Totally delightful. And it also was like at the beginning, even when it's Zippity Doodah, I wrote, you have to make every ride at Disney World must be a Muppet ride. Because it would be so fun to go on Splash Mountain with Muppets, huh?
I think any ride adding Muppets to it at this point would be a welcome change.
You could get an animatronic Alan Arkin in there, and he's the one who could throw you down the
I think you
cliff
just
at the
sealed
end.
its fate as not happening there, Sam. I think as soon as you introduce, hey, what if we got an animatronic Alan Arkin? Just pull one of the leftover pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean and just say it's
Replace,
Alan Arkin.
The fox at the top of the hill with Alan Arkin being like, "Arr, arr."
People be like, what the hell is this?
Well, if I was the boss, that's what I'd do.
I think Little Miss Sunshine is owned by Disney now because they bought Fox. So
Perfect.
they probably own the rights to Alan Arkin's,
To Alan Arkin's
face.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd have to get the bald version of Alan Arkin, though. That's the only one they own the rights to.
So Alan Arkin keeps switching back and forth between Jekyll and Hyde. He seems to have no memory of the terrible things he has just done to these rabbits. As he asks Kermit when his number is coming up, and Kermit's like, "Oh, we had to cancel that, dude. You're a murderer."
Yeah. He's very gentle about it, but he is like, yeah, you fucked up.
Yeah, and so Alan Arkin is sad and retreats to his dressing room. But he does continue to turn into a monster throughout the episode. Then we have something that I thought for sure was the UK spot in this episode when I first watched it. Fozzie and Rolf hang out, do another song, where Fozzie attempts to sing, "I Got Rhythm," and Rolf is accompanying him on piano, and turns out Fozzie does not, in fact, have rhythm.
I love when these two fuzzy fellas hang out.
They're a good duo that we do not see often enough, because I think this highlights their pairing well. I think Rolf's going to get tired of Fozzie real quick.
Yeah,
Like-
Rolf doesn't have a lot of patience for hijinks, really. When hijinks happen in Rolf skits, he kind of storms off the stage, usually, more than anything.
Well, he wants to fix it. He's like, just do this. Do it right, man.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
I would like to put on a good show, you bunch of amateurs.
And then we get the troubling Pigs in Space, which, it seemed like maybe Pigs in Space had moved on from their misogynistic ways of the early Pigs in Space sketches. But in this one, the ship, the Swine Trek, has developed a tilt. It is leaning at a 45-degree angle, and they cannot figure out why. Like, what's wrong with the ship? Why won't it stabilize? It turns out because Piggy weighs too much.
Ha ha.
She's weighing down half of this ship.
I do like at the end that she does kind of get one up on him and uses the tipping ship to bring them to her awaiting fist. I thought that was enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, not good. Not a nice one at all.
Yeah, it's a unfortunate return to form.
But at least they let her hit him. And I feel like in the old days of Pigs in Space, she didn't get to get revenge on anybody.
Yeah,
They
she
were
did
just
not
rude to
get her comeuppance at the end, usually.
Yeah, they were just rude to her, and then she had to live with it. But now she's a star.
Then we have what is actually the UK spot in this episode, what we referred to earlier, with the devil and the angel falling in love. But the angel is here to sing "You're No Good," the Linda Ronstadt song, to the devil, which, again, just good. This episode is just good, Sam.
It was really good. Yeah, it looks good. It's fun to have a different voice, like a different performance coming out of a Muppet's mouth and not just a guy pretending to be a lady singing.
Yeah, we had a few good instances of them actually letting some of the women performers.
Yeah, there was one in the last episode, too.
Yeah. So good job,
The
Muppet
chair
Show.
tamer, which I thought was a pretty funny joke in the last one, the chair tamer, when her chair trips and breaks into a million pieces.
Well, and also just the idea that the Muppet Show is going to have a chair tamer as a performing act.
Yeah. This one also had a few fun, like, random acts, like the grandma in this one who's getting killed by a snake.
Oh, one of my favorite random acts is in the Doug Henning episode, which I'm also features some more
It's not coming to my mind.
women
but,
performers getting to shine.
Oh, yeah.
moments.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, we'll get
So
to that.
weird, too.
But then we have Fozzie getting to do a comedy act.
Yes. Actually, just full-fledged. No, it's not even related to the plot. He's just doing a comedy act.
We do, though, you know, we get the one joke from Fozzie saying, "What do you get when you cross the Atlantic with the Titanic?" Halfway.
That was very funny.
Very good, which is, uncharacteristic for Fozzie to actually have a good joke.
Yeah.
But we find out that it's, while funny to Waldorf, not as funny to Statler, who was apparently on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And is a truly awful person because he apparently wore a dress to sneak onto the lifeboats.
Yep. Well, he would have died on the Titanic had he not done that. So he wasn't even a child when he was on the Titanic.
No, presumably he was
a grown man.
Yeah, dressed.
What is that in the tins?
1912.
The Titanic sank?
So
so he is at least. So let's say he was 20 when the Titanic sank.
He'd be like 88 in this
Okay.
episode of the Muppet Show. Then, if he was like 20 in 1912.
Okay, that's a reasonable age to be, I suppose, for an old guy.
And I feel
But
like
very old also.
Yeah, but I also feel like that matches up with what we've heard from them previously when they were singing about when I was 17. And they talked about
That's
them being
true.
in their 70s. It's like, okay, well, if he's reflecting on being in his 70s, he's probably in his 80s now.
Yeah, late 80s. I liked at the end when Fozzie's like, just my luck, a Titanic survivor in the audience.
Yeah.
I feel like Statler and Waldorf have kind of been on fire lately too. They're like little jabs at the end of the acts have been pretty funny lately. They're not like overstaying their welcome.
They even
They're, like,
sacrifice
they
a
got-
bunny after the Alan Arkin one. One of the bunnies
Yeah.
is hiding out in their box, and they're like, hey, you missed one. And then
Yeah,
he
missed
throws
one.
it to the stage.
Yeah. They're kind of living up to their potential right now.
But then backstage, Kermit is drinking from the ultra-powerful Jekyll and Hyde potion. And obviously turns into a vicious monster with an eyebrow and fangs.
I love the way his line delivery is on, good, I'm kind of thirsty. And then drinks that whole thing.
I also do, even though it doesn't really go anywhere, I do enjoy the performance that Jim gives
Yeah.
this monstrous Kermit where he's just like, rah, 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 rah. Like
Yeah.
a very Frankenstein's monster kind of performance there.
Uh-huh. Kermit does have a lot of rage internalized that I feel like it's healthy for him to get out in a situation like this. Tightly wound.
Well, he lets it out because there's an old lady, one of the Jerry and the Atrics, the guitar player, I believe, is out there performing a song with a snake, a really cool snake-looking puppet. And Kermit interrupts and does not let her finish her song, which is fine. I don't feel like we missed anything great there. And the closing number is the aforementioned Pig Shuffle that Alan Arkin apparently wrote a song about the life of a pig.
Yeah. And it's not even like insulting or anything. He's just describing. He's like, if you like mud, if you eat garbage, if you're, say oink, you're a pig.
Mhm.
And that's the song. It's great.
Yeah, I like
And the Electric Mayhem seem really into it as well.
And I'm really into it. I like
Yeah.
ending the show with like a joke song, like this sort of, I don't know. Like I understand bringing on people like Elton John and Liberace or whoever, and like having them come on and perform one of their own.
Sing a real song.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but to have him come on and do this feels like a different kind of show in a way.
Now I want there to have been a Weird Al episode of The Muppet Show. That would have been
Oh.
so fucking good.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Of like, if the Muppet Show just came back tomorrow, who would be the guests they would have on?
Yeah.
And most recently, because he has a new album out, I was thinking Harry Styles would be an amazing
Ooh, he would be good
Muppet
with the
Show
Muppets.
guest. And he's only been on
Yeah.
Sesame Street once. And so that's like, he had very little interaction with Muppets on that. But I do think he would be fantastic as a Muppet Show guest.
Yeah, I think we're almost ready. I think the culture's corny enough almost for the Muppet Show to come back.
I would like to add Weird Al to that list, I think.
He'd sing so many fun songs that they could do literally.
And I think Lin-Manuel Miranda would probably end up being on there
Yeah.
because, I mean, he seems
Why
like he
not?
likes Muppets a lot.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we got 3. We just need like 20 more to cast a
You
whole
could do
season.
one solid season of the Muppet Show easy, I think.
Yes, I think top of my head. Oh, Zendaya, boom.
Oh yeah, she'd
Zendaya would be
good.
great. We can figure this out. We not right now. Like
Yeah.
we'll work on that, and then we'll call
Yeah.
up Disney and just be like, hey, we already figured this out
Here's
for
our
you.
list.
Might as well just make it. There's no other hard parts to figure out. And then it's time for the Doug Henning episode on May 1st, 1980. This is where the Muppet Show not only took a hiatus from production, but also apparently from airing.
I almost said posting because we post videos. But yeah,
That
it's
is
from
the
airing
world
on
we live on.
television. Yeah.
But yeah, I gave this episode 3.5 stars.
I gave this episode 3.5 stars.
Look at that. That's the
Sam
definitive
Raimi.
ranking now.
Yes. Lock it in.
Yeah, so Doug Henning, He's a weird man.
He's a weird man.
I don't know how long he remains super famous for as a magician, but I feel like he is so 70s that like either he's going to pivot real hard in the 80s or have to fade
I don't
away.
think so. I think what he actually is, Matt, and I apologize to all the Canadians out there. I think he's an American 70s and a Canada 80s. I think he's exactly where he's supposed to be.
So he's just going to have to retreat to Canada in the 80s.
Oh, he's got 6 more years left of making Emmy award-winning magic specials in America. So I think everybody in America is just like, Canada, so retro up there. His hair is like 3 different hairstyles combined. It's so great. But he's so earnest, and it's just like, you can't goof on this guy. He's great. That shell thing also gave me ASMR, you know?
Oh.
It was giving me the brain
tingles. Yeah, the little weird shell.
Can the whole episode just be you doing close-up magic, please?
I do want some Doug Henning magic feet shoes.
Those were cool too. And he sells that so well too, because he's not like, and my magic feet, wink. He's just like, yes, of course my shoes talk. I'm Doug Henning.
Yeah, Scooter mentions his magic feets, and he's like, oh, magic feets. And they pan down, and there's just basically some Converse with some Muppet eyes attached to them, but they also flap and open up. At the beginning of this episode, Kermit is introducing Piggy while he's holding a little piece of paper, because it turns out Piggy wrote her own intro in this one, which is clearly just the most flattering intro that she could come up with.
She needed an ego bump after the Oscars.
But we get a number where they're singing "It's Magic," which is, I do like that they continue the theme throughout this episode.
Yeah, they do a good job of it too.
And we get a good use of visual effects to tell a story. Normally, whenever we get visual effects, it's either just to like disappear a background or make some things fly or swim. But in this one, they actually play with the idea of things popping on and off screen, or Kermit fades away so that like he doesn't get hugged by Piggy.
I think he doesn't mean to not get hugged by Piggy. I think that he's being coy. You know, I think they're in love at this point. That's my estimation. Because at the end, they're kind of like, mwah, 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 you know?
They are embracing a little bit more.
But I thought this was sweet. And her puppetry was very good, I thought, in this one. Got the longing feeling across very well.
And I just like the use of like the background popping in, the rainbow popping in. Like they did a good job with their visual effects in this one, which Kermit even ends up referencing later on in the most Jim Henson moment that Kermit has ever had, where he's like, earlier we used some electronic trickery.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, Jim, let Kermit back out.
Next 10 minutes of the Muppet Show is going to be him being like, I discovered this really cool camera trick.
Have you seen, there's a very sweet comic about, people were posting this on the anniversary of Jim Henson's death. That is like a perfect encapsulation of who Jim Henson is. It's a comic of him standing at the pearly gates, and like St. Peter is there, and the quote is from St. Peter saying like, "No, Mr. Henson, I don't know how it stays up there," pointing at his halo.
No, that's fun though.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
But then we have in the backstage plot, Fozzie showing Robin some magic, failing at that magic, I guess, kind of. He's doing magic.
Actually making infinite rabbits come out of a hat, and also like a human being, and also, you know,
a robot.
He's doing great.
And yeah, they love throwing these rabbit puppets around. These are the puppets they are like the least precious with that we have seen so far.
There's some disturbing, like the UK spot in this one is kind of disturbing to me.
Yeah, it's like they had the idea from the Alan Arkin episode, and they were like, how can we make this worse? There's some insinuation that Fozzie maybe caused some rabbit love to happen.
I wasn't sure about that also, because they were like, they don't teach us that in rabbit school. What do they teach you? Just how to fuck in rabbit school?
Well, so as Fozzie's trying to get the rabbit out of the hat, he ends up hitting the hat, and one of the rabbits is like, yeah, you shouldn't have hit the hat so hard. And then 1,000 rabbits start to pour out of this hat. And it's like, I guess maybe when he hit the hat, it made the rabbits have a lot of sex really fast.
I don't know. It does toe the line between like how much of this is sexual and how much of this is magical in nature.
Right, like did his magic wand just hit the hat so hard that it made magic happen more than he wanted it to happen? Or is it rabbit sex? We have our first Doug Henning magic act here. I guess not our first. He did the shell thing earlier. But our first real onstage act where he has his assistant, who is a horrible-looking monster that we've never
It's
seen
just
before.
not good at all.
Yeah, it turns out it was a puppet specifically built for this act so they could rearrange its facial features. Because this monster comes out, they put it in the box, they cut it up into pieces, rearrange, and they forget how to put the boxes back together. And so when the monster walks out of the boxes, its face is on its crotch, and its stomach is where its head was.
And its crotch is his head.
Yep. I think for me, the overall thing in this episode that I didn't love is that magic is not impressive when you have all of these believable felt characters walking around. Like, I didn't care about magic tricks when you have a talking dog playing piano or whatever.
That's true. And you know that you can like rearrange pieces on them, so it's not really super amazing. The last act is more amazing, but also Dog Lion isn't a particularly great like assistant because he's so like dung dung dung. So you're just like, whoa, look at that big guy. And I guess something's happening with the box as well.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's it for me. Is like if I had just watched maybe a Doug Henning special featuring the Muppets, maybe I would have liked it more. But just the magic being weaved into this episode, I was like, yeah, so whatever.
Yeah, but the fun thing about it to me was that it was at least something different than singing and dancing, which I appreciated throughout this episode. Was like they really latched on to what he's good at, and they actually built the episode around it.
The veterinarian's hospital in this episode is very weird.
A huge missed opportunity
Yeah.
to make a rabbit multiplying jokes and stuff like that.
But we only get one literal joke, and then they just end it. It's like a 15-second long veterinarian's hospital.
It's really weird. Dr. Bob is so thrown by the magic rabbits that he just doesn't even try.
Yeah, I felt like they could have skipped this one. And you mentioned the UK spot. It seems like, although not officially, this is Milton Miller, the guy you
That's what I
liked
was thinking,
previously
too.
with his pitchfork hitting the animals.
I don't like him when he's murdering rabbits.
Yeah, this time he just has a gun trying to make rabbit pie, and Fozzie has to try and save all these rabbits from being shot by Milton Miller.
And it seems like they are getting shot, but then at the end it seems like maybe they didn't get shot.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. But it just wasn't like, I'm not really like in the mood to watch that kind of thing right now.
No. And yeah, like the Run Rabbit Run song is fine and enjoyable, but like it gets more distressing the longer and longer it goes on that you're just literally watching this man try to murder all these rabbits.
So to hell with him. I'm done with Milton, whatever.
Milton Miller.
Milton Miller, yeah.
Then we have another magic backstage thing where Robin is hanging out with Doug Henning, and Doug Henning is doing some things that I honestly don't know how he's doing.
You can see wires, but that doesn't explain anything about what's happening, I feel like.
Yeah, and if there's a bunch of wires doing stuff, is he doing anything? Or is he just waving his hands and people are doing it from off
And
stage?
somebody's off stage going, "Ee-er." I think that's the case, but I have no idea.
I don't know.
But it was very cool, and I don't know how they go in that bottle, and I don't know how they come out of the bottle, but
again, impressive. I don't know how he's doing it. Cool. You have a talking little frog next to you that I also believe in. So like you going, oh, look at this little piece of cloth that I can make dance. And it's like, there's a frog right there, dude.
Yeah, and we've seen stuff like this, but it's also they're little creatures with eyeballs. You could have had eyeballs on your tissues.
Yeah.
But no, these are just tissues. But I liked this part, and I'm fully on Team Robin now, and I think this was like a really good use of him.
Yeah, and his song earlier was great too. Just like that sweet little earnest moment that you expect from Robin.
Yeah, and a really subtle magic trick with the chair, like the chair mirror thing again. It's like,
yeah, as he sings about like, don't forget to believe in magic, and you're seeing a magic trick, a very subtle one, while he's singing about that.
Yeah, I think that was like a really nice understated part of the episode.
Less understated, but one of my favorite things that we've seen is these weird-ass switcheroos who perform the next number. They're singing There'll Be Some Changes Made, and it's just three women characters here that we will never see again.
That's too bad.
Yeah, this feels like one of the weirdest things that they only do once to me.
Yeah.
Because as they start to transform, their bodies, their heads, everything starts to transform. At one point, they have a chicken body. They get a Jerry and the Atrix head. They become the baby's heads. Like they have a Kuzbanian body on one of them.
Oh yeah.
And they like get these like Frankenstein lady puppets. Keep swapping all their parts, and it's hilarious and it's terrifying. And I really wish this was something that would come back in some way, but it never will.
I guess there's not much more you can do with it besides this. But
No, but I feel like they've done Jerry and the Atrix multiple times and the babies multiple times. These are more entertaining than those guys.
And there's other songs about changing and stuff, so they could have done it again. But yeah, it was very fitting with the theme.
And a little
not
alarming
random.
at times, where it's just
And
like
a little alarming.
they got baby heads or they have a Kuzbanian
like
body.
I
But
didn't like the baby head part. Yeah.
and then Doug Henning performs his final number, which is just sort of like a normal quick change in a box number with an assistant. But he's also
Pretty good, though.
Yeah, very good. But he also has some other assistants, which are Doglion and the dancing bird people that we saw in the
Hate
Leo
those
Sayer
guys.
and Liberace episodes.
Yes, I don't like them, but this was an okay use of them. I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
As
fit in
props
with
like
his
this.
weird vibe
Yeah.
and the weird chicken lady that he makes like vanish.
The chicken lady is also a little troubling. But I love these. They're like just the one shot, like straight up magic act thing, which you would go to an actual variety show and see.
And that's it for the episode. And weirdly, the very end after the credits, we do get a "That's all, folks."
That is really weird because it's not even a pig.
Nope. We've had many, many pigs who could have made this joke on the show, but instead we get one of the little bunnies saying,
Yeah,
"That's all,
that-
folks."
Like an extravagant thing with like the circles closing in on him and everything is very weird.
Yeah. But overall, a weird mixed bag of a batch of episodes. One of the best episodes we've ever seen. One of my least favorite episodes we've ever seen. And then a rather straightforward, boring Doug Henning episode.
It wasn't bad. It was like an engaging batch. It was a good variety of shit and magic and cool.
It's a perfect review. But now it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Mildred Huckstetter.
I don't even know who that is.
That's the-
is that the
That's the purple one you
long,
always mix up
pointy-nosed
with
lady?
Hilda.
Right?
Mildred Huckstetter, BAMA, PhD, OBE, and RSVP, as she has been acclaimed here on this Muppet Show, is the pinkish, purplish, beaked woman who first debuted in the 1974 Muppets Valentine Show.
Yeah, she was kind of a prominent character in that.
Yeah, she featured a lot in that and in the first season of the Muppet Show. But notably, after that, kind of disappeared. She does pop up from time to time, but really, season 1 was her time to shine, and the dance is dancing with George and various other people. And notably, also, we don't really know what Mildred's role on the show was because we don't get to see her in backstage plots like we did with George and Hilda, other season 1 cast-offs. So we only really see her popping up on stage, dancing around and telling some jokes, and doesn't really have a backstage story until she plays a reporter in season 2. Which at that
forgot
point, it
about
just
that.
seems like she's sort of just like an anything kind of character.
Right.
And as I mentioned, she did debut in the Valentine Show and then appeared mostly in season 1, usually in non-speaking appearances after season 1. But she will go on to appear in an unaired episode of The Jim Henson Hour in 1989, a Muppets Tonight episode in 1996, and she is in Muppets Most Wanted in 2014.
Cool.
Yeah, so a very scattered career for Mildred. She's obviously also going to be in like the ending of Rainbow Connection and Muppets Take Manhattan and the Muppets 30th celebration. But those, everyone's in those.
Right.
That doesn't really count at this
Right.
point. And the interesting fact about Mildred is that there has apparently only ever been one puppet built of Mildred. And the same one has been used for every appearance of Mildred, even up until Muppets Most Wanted.
Well, she's looking pretty good.
Yeah. And they apparently had to loan her out from a museum for use. And the Muppets Most Wanted, and according to like her inventory sheet and her tags, it was like, oh hey, yeah, this is still the original Mildred.
That seems like more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, and maybe that's why Mildred is not around in a lot of things anymore, is
Yeah.
because it's like, we have to rebuild her. Is it worth it? I don't know. As far as performers go, it seems a little scattered at times because she was obviously like not speaking in some roles. But Richard Hunt originally performed her in the Muppets Valentine Show. And then as far as credited performers go, weirdly, Aaron Oscar is also like credited on both the featured creature bio on Henson.com and the Muppet morsels that pop up on the season 1 DVDs say that Aaron Oscar was her regular performer. But according to Muppet Wiki, there are no known instances of her performing the role.
She's just a lady Muppet, so the lady must have played her.
I guess. I don't know. It's weird. A couple fun facts about Mildred. She apparently, according to the character encyclopedia, has left show business to follow her dream of creating a line of designer cheese knives.
Okay.
So that's where she's
Okay.
at. And according to a spring 1983 issue of Muppet Magazine, which also establishes her as the publication's proofreader, so that's where she's working as well, Mildred is from Spokane, Washington, and once pursued a career as a soprano in the Metropolitan Opera. If I had to rate Mildred, which I do, I'm going to give her a 5 out of 10 because I feel like sort of a wasted opportunity character who was pretty prominent early on, but we don't get to see much from, and unfortunately didn't really have a character.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what they wanted her to be or what she's supposed to be. I guess she kind of seems like a Miss Manners type character. It was like she could have been a good counterpoint to the chef, maybe. She could have like helped the chef instead of that weird bird for one episode, or been like, "Oh, you're so rude," or like, "This is how you set a table," and the chef is like messing something up in the background. But I don't really know what she's supposed to be. I'll give her a 4, I guess.
That seems totally fair.
She's just kind of there. But it was weird how much we saw of her in the beginning.
She was much like, the Nigels of the world, a very prominent Muppet early on that seems like they would stick around for longer and then just disappear forever.
I'm glad to be done with George more than any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
And Brewster. Hated that guy.
Yeah, Brewster, thankfully, did not really do much, which is why we haven't even talked about him for Muppet of the Week. But when we do, I assume he will get a pretty low rating from both of us. But before we go, Sam, I need to ask you, did you have time to enjoy any non-Muppet things in these last couple of weeks?
Bunch of crap.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any of it except for 2 things. One, I didn't watch all of. Have you seen For All Mankind?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes.
I was very curious about that because I liked it too, and I was like, Matt must have watched this show. I wonder what he thought of it.
Yep.
At first, I thought the first few were pretty corny, but then like Rachel watched all of both seasons, and I watched in and out. But it seemed pretty good. It was like very weird and interesting. Like, and by the end, it was kind of like, this is pretty realistic alternate reality. Like, this is just interesting. Kind of silly that Sally Ride is in that one episode at the end.
So the whole, there are certain things that you kind of just have to go in and be like, okay, this is what the show does, because there are some kind of weird, silly, or corny moments. But once you sort of accept the world that the show takes place in, it's a great show, and there's some really good moments.
Yeah, it at the end, by the end of the second season, I was getting like the Star Trek vibes that I wanted from Strange New Worlds, where it's kind of like we're trying to solve a problem and we're talking and we're experts. And I watched Strange New Worlds too, and that one is kind of like a little too Star Wars and also a little too like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like everybody's so snarky.
Yeah.
And it's like, you wouldn't talk to your captain that way. Come on. Nobody would talk to John Luke this way. He would have you thrown in the brig. And that is like something that didn't really happen in For All Mankind, where they were having like philosophical conversations about stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So I also watched Strange New Worlds. Not really a big fan of it. It was okay, and I'll keep watching it because I love Star Trek so much. But speaking of Star, I also watched Star Wars, Obi-Wan. I have no idea what I thought about Obi-Wan. I thought some of it was really stupid, but I love that guy so much. What's his name? Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
I love him in that role so much, and he does such a good impression of Obi-Wan that it's like, I guess not impression, he is Obi-Wan. But it is kind of like, oh, I like hearing your voice, but the rest of this is kind of silly.
Interesting.
I imagine you watched it too. You loved it?
Yep.
Okay. I liked a lot of the Princess Leia episode, but I thought some of it was a little confusing, like how there's that scene where Leia's like doing parkour in the forest to get away from those guys, and those guys were kind of like boom, boom, boom.
I mean, they had to act like they couldn't catch up to a 10-year-old child. Like, that's the thing, is like adults could catch up to a 10-year-old pretty quickly.
I could take like 3 steps and have caught Princess Leia and be like, you're a kid.
Got her. Yeah.
Maybe if there had been like some kind of force thing happening, like she didn't mean for it to be happening, but like the trees were falling over, or like they were being tripped by like mysteriously moving vines.
That would have been pretty good.
That would have made more sense. But I thought the first episode was a little boring, but also the kind of boring that I love in Star Wars.
The first episode was like, I watched it with the mouth agape the entire time of like, this show is so much like, it's so different from what I thought it was going to be, and it's so much better than I thought it was going to be, that I was like, yes, give me this. I can't believe I only get to watch 4 more episodes of this.
I think I got burned so bad by Boba Fett.
But this is so much better.
I know, but I'm scared. I'm scared to open my heart to it.
Yeah.
Because Boba Fett sucked so bad.
Yeah. I agree that I am worried about the cliff that this could drive off of. But so far I have faith because it's so good. But yeah, that was the main thing I watched this week. I also got into Our Flag Means Death.
Oh yeah, I watched a couple of those.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's very cute and heartwarming in weird ways, and it's also very violent in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's a lot like What We Do in the Shadows, where it's like these people are friends and then somebody's head explodes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very cute, very fun show. Before we go, we want to let you know what we're watching next week, and we are finishing up season 4 of The Muppet Show next week.
We're on the last of it already?
Yep.
Whoa.
We will be watching the episodes featuring guests Carol Channing, Diana Ross, and Andy Williams.
What? I love Andy Williams.
That is not the one I expected you to name.
I think his Christmas music is so good. He is the voice of Christmas to me, so I love Andy Williams.
Well, this will also be the introduction of Rizzo by name in this
Are
next
you
batch.
serious?
Yeah, so
I'm
fingers crossed
excited
for a good
now.
batch.
What a great season finale. They're like, this rat, what's his name? Rizzo. And then he like steps out of the doorway. And that's the end of season 4.
I don't think that's what's going to happen, but
Oh, okay.
fingers crossed it does.
Oh.
We need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to head on over to commitment.com to either pick up one of our enamel pins or check out our Patreon. By the time you're hearing this, we just did our second monthly live stream where we played some more Muppet video games and opened some viewer mail. If you want to talk to us on a place that's not, Twitter, you can email us at mail@commitment.com. You can follow this podcast, though, on Twitter and Instagram at commitmentpod. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.